Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. And we are back with another guest speaker episode, and I'm very excited to have our next guest in the series. We got DK coming in from Western Massachusetts, joining us today. And DK, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. This has been like a few months in the making for us. I've been wanting to get on this show for now, I think 3 months. So I'm very, very happy to be a part of this. I really like the concept. I feel like it's a little bit different than other podcasts, especially in the pandemic. You got the sort of the Zoom feel. So it's really cool, and I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we, like I was telling you a little off air, we're trying to optimize the Zoom podcast as best we can until we can start to have people in person. So, which we're a little ways away from that. Hopefully very soon. And but yeah, this works out just as good, or almost as good, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's been great to have you, man. I mean, like I said, you've been hitting us up for a little while. We've been going back and forth and really getting to know you, getting to know your music. Got a lot to talk about today. You got a brand new single that just dropped. You had an album that came out on the back end of 2020. And you've been doing a lot of executive producing. There's just a ton to talk about. You're a teacher as well, so definitely a huge palette, a big variety of things to discuss today. But the first thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about and ask you about was just kind of your history with music and hip hop specifically. I know you kind of tend to blend a couple of different genres. You definitely get into some soul and even some neo soul and things like that. Trap music and things like that. So I'm just kind of curious, what drew you into the genre? What kind of made you start, making music? What was kind of like the driving force for you, kickstarting your career?
So music's always been a part of my life. I mean, my father's a musician, so he's been my number one inspiration ever since I was born. Seeing your dad on stage, you want to be just like him, and that's kind of the guy I want to be like at all times. The hip hop thing really didn't start for me until like 16, 17, because I actually grew up on like metalcore and heavy metal type music. So that sort of music didn't come around until I started hanging out with my college roommates who were my high school good friends. And I'm still like best friends with them now. One of them is actually my manager. So they kind of got me into the hip hop and things like that. When I went to school for freshman year, I went to Towson University. I actually tried out for a metal band as a front man at like 17 because I was late birthday. And they wanted me to like join, and they sort of, right away loved me after like 25 people and all this other stuff. But I saw sort of the metalcore scene fading out or, not becoming what it was. It was really a big thing back in the early 2010s, late 2008, 2000s kind of thing, but it really wasn't going to prosper back in 2014 as much as I thought. So I just kind of took a step back, and then a friend of mine, Recreation, and a few others, Mike Bell and E-Man the Heartbreak, they found me at a party, and they sort of told me, hey, you should sing. And then time went on. I moved around a lot of places, transferred home, and then when I got to UMass, I started making beats from like 19 to 20, and then I dropped my first song 4 years ago around this time exactly. So I've been doing it straight for 4 years now.
That's great. That's an interesting, transition from metalcore all the way to now kind of what you do now with hip hop. And it's a really interesting story and background. And I mean, I see the guitars in the background, so it's pretty clear that you have definitely a musician's background for sure. And that's awesome. Do you play like often?
I play guitar, bass, ukulele, keyboard, and basically it's one of those things where you can pick up any instrument and sort of feel the rhythm and know the chords and feel like what it can do. Keyboards I kind of only learned when I was making beats. I can probably play keys now. I played keys once at a concert in Amherst, but I really just guitar and bass are my main things, but I can sort of take any instrument and play it besides like real drums, because that's a whole different sector of music that requires your legs and other parts of rhythm that I really can't grasp at the moment, which I'd love to learn. But now that I produce and do all these things, it's like better to be good at a bunch of things than like super good at one, especially me trying to be an artist. Like it's just all these different things. But yeah, I play, and I've been playing since I was like 11, 12 years old.
Wow,
So
that's
about
great.
12 years now.
And how, so playing instruments, was that kind of the driving force into the production side of it? Like, did that come first, or was it more like, I want to be an artist?
Yeah, like I saw like people around me were using YouTube beats, and I don't have any. I do have quarrels with YouTube beats. I won't lie here, but I was like, what was all these years of music teaching and watching my father and sort of being a part of my musical family and having the only thing that I was ever decent at in life was being music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So why was I going to spend all this money on an exclusive beat and then not get money instead of try to do it myself? You know, I'm not opposed to outside production, but I'd rather have it in-house with people that I rock with or people that I develop relationships with or anything of co-production, you know. They'll send me loops, I'll make drums or vice versa, or I'll add guitar solos on beats and things like that. So I try to keep everything really in-house and really together for it.
I like that, and I like just the originality, the authenticity of that too. Because I mean, yeah, again, like you said, there's nothing necessarily wrong with taking YouTube beats, but if you can make it yourself, then like, you know, cut out the middleman. You know what I mean? Just do it yourself. You know, I'm definitely a do-it-yourself guy for sure. You know, with everything that I do with the podcast and things like that, so I totally can understand that. That aspect of it.
Yeah, I just try to be cost efficient and just like try to keep everything in house and show my versatility and all that.
Awesome. Yeah, well, love to get into some of the albums that you've produced. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but I definitely want to talk about your latest project, Anomaly, which dropped late 2020. Was it October, right?
It was November 17th.
November.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so I knew it was like somewhere in like the fall, late fall range, but
yeah.
So again, congratulations! It's an awesome body of work. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely a lot more soulful than I think I had expected it, and you can totally sing, man. You hold a note. I mean, you could definitely have a nice ear for melodies and things like that. I was just kind of want you to describe a little bit about like how you crafted the sound of this project. What was maybe the inspiration behind it?
So to sum it up, I was basically like during this entire. Probably from when I had started making music back in like late 2016, early 2017, putting out stuff, to probably right when I got home in the pandemic, I would say probably like April, May of 2020, I was really not in a good headspace. I had been through a lot of stuff, and we can get into it more in the interview to explain, but essentially what Anomaly was I was at my friend's fire and they were thinking of names for stuff and they were like, DK, you know, you're really like an anomaly. Like nobody is like you at all. And I was like, because my good friend Goose and his girlfriend Katrina, his girlfriend said that. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So I went home and my good friend Sandman sent me a 3-pack and the Anomaly beat was on there. And I was just like, all right, you know, I've never really rapped before. But I can't. The thing is singing is my number one, regardless, right? And like, I wouldn't necessarily call myself hip hop more so than I call myself R&B. But at the same time, I don't know. Nobody really knows my genre. I don't know my genre. Like, I just go. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a song in front of me, I'll go. But that, you know, I kind of just talked my talk on that, and you know, no pun intended. And I made the song, and it was the first song on there, and I was like, all right, you know. I really just analyzed my data from all the past work I've done and what works and what doesn't. And I was like, all right, I'm really good at concepts. Let's make a concept album. So I wrote the story of Anomaly as if it was to be performed as a musical. So the album itself is a musical. And if you look at the very last part of the song, the 8th song, Distance. If you hear the very last thing, I'm off of the airport, I'm leaving, and it's 12 semitones or an octave down of Anomaly at the very end of the 8th song. So if you loop the album, you're looping it and you can go back in and see it, but it's also metaphorically looping back the story of the same repetitive nonsense that I had dealt with over the past 4 years between jobs, friendships, and relationships and everything in between. So that was like the whole story of Anomaly, sort of making it my own, but also just trying to do that. And we've had talks about actually like doing an Anomaly, the musical and things like that. Just with COVID, I got COVID back in like late December and everything of that. And then people forget quickly. You got to just push out more content. So that's the decision I made. But in the future, when shows come back, I'd love to be able to perform that because it's small enough of an album where you can perform it in like a 23-minute set and you can be good to go.
Right, yeah, and that's the first music that I had heard from you. You actually, that's like the first project you had sent of yours to me, and I got just a feel for you. And again, I just loved. I think your personality came out so much in that album. Just the eccentric nature of it, and you're definitely. I definitely can tell you're a performative guy. Like I feel like you would be someone that on stage would be very engaging to go watch at a performance. And I think the music video Anomaly. For sure is a good representation of that. So we're going to take a quick break here, a quick word from one of our local sponsors, and then you're going to watch a clip of Anomaly from DK. If you're a content creator like me, you know you're a perfectionist, especially when working with audio. You want it to be as crisp, clean, and really clear sounding as possible. And if you're an artist looking for a quality sound engineer, you have to check out Mixed by Hex. Hex is a South Shore, Massachusetts artist, producer, and reputable sound engineer, and also the host of our mini-series, Mixing Tips with Hex. Handing your song off to someone can be a scary process, but at Mixed by Hex, they offer multiple pricing plans, all with a specific number of free revisions. That way, you never have to worry about losing your say in the final product. And right now, Mixed by Hex is offering a free sample mix. That's right, you can hear your first mix of your track before even paying a dime. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Head over to www.mixedbyhex.com to get your free sample mix and check out their pricing options. And make sure you reference us, the Turntable teachers, in your inquiry. Now, let's get back to the show.
I'm off the deep end.
My head, put on my clothes, then I'm out. I do the work and get my money, but my name's in your mouth. I sing and rap and make the beats, yeah, I'm the best one around. But I'm not gonna cry and look like I'm just fiending for clout. Yeah, I've seen so many people try to copy it, they don't get me. They try to run off with my lyrics, thinking I don't see it. Yeah, I do. You're scheming, but your boys say that I'm reaching. I'm sick and tired of people, so I'm about to break the ceiling when it's back to you. Crying in the bathroom. Where's my money? You just took it and made it back too. But I don't wanna be sad or mad. Just want the world to know my name. Stay persistent and wait. Yeah, I'm an anomaly. You can't copy me.
And that was Anomaly by DK. And I definitely love that video. It's again, just very quirky and eccentric, like I said. And I definitely got a lot of praise. I loved the video you did where people were commenting on on the video. Yeah, that was pretty funny. So if anyone wants to check that out, he basically man's got a little humor for himself as well. You know, can take a joke at himself. I liked that. I really appreciate that from you as an artist for sure. Kind of playing into the role and things like that.
I'm a big bald dude that put a wig on and was multiple different characters. Like I'm self-aware, you know. So
as you know, and that's good. It's helpful as an artist for sure to let be aware of yourself, but also and make jokes and things like that. I really enjoy that aspect of yourself and you as an artist. And again, Anomaly, like I said, it definitely was stripped back, very R&B, but also at the same time had some more pop-eccentric songs. And then your newest track that's actually just came out, Reality, which I am a huge fan of. I think it's your best song that I've heard of yours for sure. I definitely want you to break down that song because it's profound. I think it's really one of your biggest statements of your career. I mean, maybe I'm being a little too maybe I'm exaggerating that just a little bit, but explain to me a little bit the story behind this song and just the emotion that went into it.
So I was actually, every time I do an album, I get in this position where it's like, okay, what's next? And a lot of the times I can post, I can do singles and drop singles, but the reality of it is, and that's the song of reality. It's that doesn't work for me really unless I have a music video or something to convey an emotion behind it. You know, my EPs will do phenomenally and my albums will do phenomenally and my singles won't. And I don't know if that's because of the promotion or because they just like my concepts or whatever, but that's not the thing. So I was actually downstairs in my basement and my boy UV sent me guitar loops. And UV I've worked with his production. You know, I produce for other people, me and UV have. But me and UV never had our own song that I was comfortable enough to put out. And a big thing that I tell a lot of my friends, and especially a lot of the people that come through here from Western Mass as far as, you know, artists, you know, actually in the studio or wherever, is I'm like, you have to be able to dig deep and dig to a point that's very uncomfortable in order to really feel your emotions. And I would tell everybody that. And then I was like, I don't know if I've actually done that myself. So the song is essentially telling the story about how when I was younger, I made a mistake that cost me to sort of be ostracized from where I lived. And it was very tough. And it was just a silly mistake that got taken too far, too out of context that, you know, affected me.
I go through my days asking myself, how do I do it? I got friends in my circle, damn, they really been through it. And I got others who don't even know what time I'll be on. They worried about my dream, well, where the hell is yours? I've had a life of privilege, and yeah, that is a fact. But don't mistake that meaning, that I've had it so easy. There's a lot of pain in my heart, and I used to be afraid to show it. I'm gonna take it back and sing for everyone so y'all could notice. When I was 12, I had 7 cops at my front door, locked up, mugshot, front page on the news. That's when all my trauma started, yeah, it damaged my youth. I spent my childhood crying and tying belts in the news. Over a decade of therapy, but the hell kept coming. My immature insecurity, yeah, they were abundant. I had to see it firsthand. I was so sad and disgusted. My own lovers, my own friends, they wanted to be nothing, and something didn't seem clear to me. Not clear to me, no, 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 no. That someday would I be okay, or is this my reality?
And then that trauma of, you know, suicide attempts and things like that, you know, escalated in the future with seeing, you know, good friends and even loved ones, girlfriends and other people, you know, family members be in this position where they want to die, you know. And I'm happy that I've gotten myself in a position that I can be I can be away from that. Like, I can see it. It affects me greatly. And it's caused, you know, there's been times where I have panic attacks and things like that and bad flashbacks, but I'm never at the point where I want to get to the level of where I don't want to live on the earth anymore, because I've seen so much at such a young age where a lot of the times where people go through these, you know, the worst of mental health times, in my opinion, I think is in the 20s, where I'm at now, where I dealt with this stuff at 10, 11, 12, 13. At a very, very young age. And mind you, I felt immature, and I feel like immature, you know, back when I started music. Like, I just felt like I was always like a little behind as far as maturity goes, and that's just life. But yeah, that was something that I was just like, will it ever end? You know, people just use me. I'm in this position where people use me because I'm the success story. You know, when I was 12 years old, when I said those, you know, when I was 12, I had 7 cops at my front door, locked up, mugshot, front page on the news. Like, at that time, I'm 24. 12 years ago, if I would have said I would have been on my 8th interview in like the Anomaly press run, you know, of all these things that you've done and you've played, 12-year-old me would have been like, no, you would have been dead. So like, that was something that it was like, you know, something I never spoke about really. You know, I always mentioned other people or mentioned it like slyly in lyrics, but I never upfront mentioned something. And so for me, this is something like, look, you know, after reality, you're going to get the Anomaly, eccentric, la funny DK back. Like, you'll get him back. I'm going to be there because that worked for me. Like, the Anomaly album brought me a lot of success. And that sort of videos will continue to happen. But for me, reality is like that one single that I can drop that it's like, boom, done. This is me. And if you want to ride with me now, like this is what you got to, this is how you have to see me. Like you got to know that everything I do is a part of the DK, act. It's me, but it's an entertainment business and I'm an entertainer. So that's the best way I think I can describe it. It's like, here's my statement, I know now in my head that I'm going to make it. And I told myself that every day. And this is all the stuff I've been through to get to the point where I'm at now.
So first, I just want to commend you, but also thank you for the transparency and explaining that, and to our listeners, your fans, of course, that are tuning into this episode. I think that is really going to bode well for you in the future, just so that way to give people kind of a different side of you and know, like, hey, he's not just this entertainer, this goofy dude, but this goofy ball dude behind the camera that makes all the the R&B pop tracks. Like, you actually can get very deep, and even again, I thought it was inspirational. I thought there was a lot of emotion packed behind it. You can hear it in your voice, I can hear it in your delivery, no question. Is there a sense for you, like, is there almost a relief now that this is out, or are you apprehensive that this is out, or do you care what people think, or is it more or less like a relief that, thank God that I actually can have this for people to consume, and like I don't have to like hide behind this facade, or I can at least accept this part of myself and kind of move forward?
I'll be honest, like once this is out, I probably won't listen to it again, unless it is to like rehearse to remind lyrics of myself for shows, which like deep down I know this is probably going to be like the biggest song for me. I think just because the story I'm telling, and like there's a lot of people that are friends with me, but may not necessarily bump my music on the regular. But now they may, because like they may be bumping this song in particular. I know that. Like I'm not, saying, it's like I said, when I said that line, when the bass drops and I say that line, and, I'm in the video, watching myself, because in the video I'm watching my own self on the news, and I'm telling the news about myself. So there's 3 of me in one video. Like, I am aware at that point that like that's going to be something for people, but I probably won't listen to it. And also, I listen to my own music probably 200, 300 times before I drop it. That's when I know I need to drop it. But after that, I'm sick of my own stuff. So I don't bump me. Like, I'm always like on the next thing of what I can do. And I'll bump myself from time to time being like, okay, I wish I did this, mix this different or whatever, but I don't really listen to my music post-release. And this one especially, because it's just going to make me cringe. But I know I'm going to have to speak about it too.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, now that it's out there, I think, obviously you're going to have questions surrounding it. And but at the same time, though, again, like I said, it might be something that is almost therapeutic for you in a way, because I feel like a lot of people with their art, and specifically artists that are musicians, I mean, they put a lot of their trauma, their pain into music. It's just what we do as human beings, right? But I find it interesting that you say that too, because I don't really listen to my podcasts once they're out either, only because even if I'm not even the one editing them, because whether it's I split editing duties. Like, I produce some of the episodes, but our producer Sam produces some of them as well. We kind of, we split there. And for me though, it's like, especially an episode I'm working on, specifically like editing, I'm by the end of it, I'm sick of my own voice. I've memorized where certain segments are in the episode, and I don't want to hear it again. You know what I mean? So I totally understand that. It's and then same with me, just on to the next thing. So I can totally relate on that level of like, okay, what's the next thing? But then again, there's something to be said for that, like sitting with whatever you're working on and just trying to enjoy that moment, enjoy that episode, enjoy that song, whatever it is, right? So I think more of a balance there that's definitely necessary. But anyway, man, I love the track. I think it's really, really great. And definitely big shout out to you for like having the courage to really kind of put that out there to the masses, and really kind of be, like I said, as vulnerable as you are on this. And, I hope that people, or in your fans or friends, family, whoever it is, are able to see kind of a different side of you. And it definitely was a different side of me. It threw me for a curveball. And you had even said that when you sent the song, you were like, this is going to be different. Like, it's going to be something a little eye-opening. And I was just like, okay.
But I got to do that. I can't just be like, joking like all the time. Like I want to be, like I want to have fun, I want to do that, and that will probably be a lot of it. But like I have to talk about some things like that before I can just like, after Anomaly, it was like, okay, like DK, like you're getting serious here. Like this isn't just like some hobby you've been working at. Like this could you could really make this something. So when I knew that, it was like I gotta address things about my past before anybody else does and nip it in the bud. So that's what I did here.
Perfect. No, I love that, and I guess, like I said, I think it's going to bode well for you in the future doing that and doing it early on. But yeah, again, so very much appreciative of your transparency in your own music, and I think your fans, like I said, will appreciate that as well. Something that I think for you is very unique as well is you've executive produced a lot of albums as well, and you've definitely worked with many artists in the Western Mass area specifically. So talk to me a little bit about the albums you've worked on and artists you've worked with, and maybe like your favorite moment or favorite time or project maybe that you've worked on that you're very proud to say that you worked on it.
So that's a great question. So I have been making beats now since 2017, 2016 is when I started making beats, and then 2017 I put it out. But I really say 4 years because I mark it from like when the time I put out music. But back in 2018 to 2019, I executively produced my good friend's Cam Randall's album that charted on the iTunes hip hop chart at like 178 out of 200, which for somebody out of Western Mass, that's great. It's not
absolutely,
especially in hip hop. But as of recent, I've produced and worked with pretty much everybody that's been grinding in the Western Mass scene one way or the other, except probably like a handful of people. But I've really at this point produced for everyone, because for the longest time there really wasn't a lot of producers. I kind of came into the scene where people were just about to start doing music, but the people that are like actually pushing and doing music now 4 years later weren't really around 4 years ago. Even guys like Phoenix, for instance. Like I met Phoenix 3 years ago, and Phoenix was just hanging around and stuff like that. I didn't even know he rapped, and then when I heard he rapped, it's like, okay, cool, more people like that are dope are doing shit around here. But specifically right now, the two guys that I've been like really working with are Kudo and Lil Step. Kudo was 1/3 of a group called Lagoon that broke up earlier in 2020, and he went solo, and I produced 4 and 5 off his big first EP and mixed the entire project. And then another person that I worked with is and again, I produced for a bunch of people. I really can't sort of go on and on because I really don't even remember at this point. But I executively produced Lil Step's album, and I produced 4, 5, and 7, and the structure of the album and everything like that was, the idea of relativity was based off a 1953 M.S. Escher painting that I remembered from back in the day in history class, and sort of the whole structure of the album was sort of where I came from, and sort of took everything that I've learned over the years, especially with Anomaly, and I was like, all right, this is your debut album. You need to make it short. You need to make it with different emotions, and have it sort of tell a story in and of itself. So those are the people I've been working with. And my manager, Ian, is managing Kudo and Step and me. So it's been dope. And they come here to record and everything like that. So
that's awesome that you guys have kind of your own team in a sense of people that you can kind of rely on and help out and really collaborate and do different things with. That's great.
Yeah. And there's more people too that are just doing hard work that I'm going to be producing for, guys like B-Rob and Desmond and Ish Akinor, who is doing crazy things right now, is in Gary V's playlist, has been in the Spotify Arab X playlist, and I got 2 out of the 4 on his EP that's coming out on Valentine's Day as well. So that could be a big thing for me. I have a possible, as far as I'm told, upcoming placement with this kid who's in all of the Spotify New Music Friday. His artist just hit like 1 million on Spotify in 4 months. So that he executively produced an A&Rs for and everything like that, and like sort of his team. So I think on a production side, it's doing really well for me. Even though that's not like my main priority, it's just something that has worked out.
That's great. No, that was one of my questions, but you kind of already answered it. Like in terms of like, do you see yourself as an artist first, then producer, then engineer, or is there like, what is the kind of the hierarchy for you? Since you kind of
for me, it's artist first. Like I love I'm in my opinion, I'm too much of a performative guy, like you said. I got too much energy on stage, and I feel like as far as like a live singer, like I can really go. Like I have a really, really deep, powerful voice, and a good range that I can really go and perform. And I've been performing for years now, and where more people have practice, I have more practice on stage than a lot of other people because of the things that I've done, musicals, covers at UMass to make money for years and years, and then shows. But yeah, artist is the number one thing. However, producing, gets my name out there, and engineering makes me money. So that's where I sort of see it. I don't charge my guys, anybody who comes in, I don't really charge much, and I really don't charge much for beats except DistroKid splits, because at the end of the day, it's like there's a lot of producers out there that charge $100, for a lease, or $500 for an exclusive. That's fine and all, but people really don't have that money. But what if you had 20 DistroKid splits with 25%, 50% songs on there, and they each get 1,000 plays? Like that's however much a month coming to your bank account. I can make a beat in 10 minutes, honestly. Like I made Bad Guy in 17 minutes. Like I counted. Like I made the whole beat in 17 minutes, mixed, mastered, and everything. So what's that, like really like that much time? No, like I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be choosy of who I work with, yes, but I'm not going to like charge up the ass for it, because I want to be the number one artist on the planet, and that in my head I try to be that every day. That's not me being cocky, it's just the mentality that I try to go at with my work ethic.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a mentality that I think it's a slippery slope, because you have to have that mentality. Like that's something that's definitely you need to be, confident in yourself and understand that. But again, it's that sort of balance between that and also the humble aspect of it. But I think you do have a nice mix of the both. Or from what I'm sounding, what you've talked about today, it really seems as though, again, you're self-aware, you understand of where you're at, where your strengths are, what are some things that you may need to work on, but then also, of course, you understand, how you sort of got understanding how this industry sort of works from a business perspective as well. And I think that's again the toughest part, I think, for artists, and at least just what I've seen is, again, even for me too, just as I've sort of navigated it myself too. I think the business side of music it's tricky, man. It can be cutthroat. It can definitely be something that isn't for everybody, unfortunately. So
yeah.
It's all about what kind of attitude and mentality you're going to bring into the fold. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. I mean, so you mentioned that you used to be in musicals. Is that was that like a high school thing? Were you in musicals in college, or were you just something that you kind of just were like just kind of finding roles to be in theater?
So I always love singing, and I'm like 6'4", 260, right? I look like I should be a defensive end. My grandfather started all 3 years until he got a knee injury in senior year at Clemson. So,
wow.
That right there should have athleticism in my blood. But reality is that it's just not the case. I'm a clumsy dude, and I'm not athletic, and I'm not really good at anything other than that. So musicals was like the thing to do, because I was always singing and had a good voice. I started singing in Nova Chorus. Shout out Miss Deb Sally, if you're ever watching this. But she heard me, and I was the first freshman guy ever in Nova Chorus, which is the honors course there. And they threw me in musicals. So they threw me in Seussical, the musical I was in. And I played Mr. Mayor. I was 5'8" and about the same weight I am now, playing in a yellow costume with blue makeup on my face and everything like that. So, and that will probably become a character eventually in a music video. I don't know for what, but it will be.
Needs to be at this point. Yeah.
I have so many different characters that and so many pictures of me that I can literally just plan it out if I really wanted to. But anyways, the musical aspect and the sort of the district choirs. I did like Western Mass, and then I was going to go to states and things like that. But I loved doing it, but it wasn't my passion. And I also loved, like, I did musicals in high school, and then in college I played covers at all the bars. So I played covers at Monkey Bar, and I played covers at the Spoke, and I played covers at Springfest and things like that. But again, musicals, covers, all those things, like leading up and like teaching myself how to sing and, you know, range and scales and falsetto, especially in a genre like I do. I learned all that from, you know, the prior stuff, but that wasn't my passion. The passion is what I'm doing today. And I've gotten to this point to be able to do it.
That's fantastic, man. And like, well, everything kind of, you know, happens that way too. I mean, even for me specifically, like I, in high school, did a lot of film and film production and editing and things like that. And that's like, that was a passion of mine in high school, and it's something that I really wanted to pursue. And then just circumstantially, like with my situation at home, like I needed to do something that was a little more stable. So I chose teaching. And I mean, I love teaching for sure, but it's a great thing for me, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's very rewarding, and it has its perks, no doubt about it. But yeah, no, I definitely am. Like I said, the film editing and the podcast, like this is my passion. This thing is my baby. So I totally understand like that, you know. But again, it's my point of this like little soliloquy here is, you know, I think those things that, you know, innately happen for a reason when you're a little younger, and if you kind of continue on that path, it can lead you down a place you maybe didn't think you would go, but now it's almost on the flip side of that, it's like maybe I don't see myself doing anything else, you know?
Yeah, and I don't really see myself doing anything else, and that's how I have to go, you know. You look at all the greats, and it's like, yeah, there was nothing else, it was only music. Like, that's how I operate. And I sometimes have regrets about not doing music, like, at a younger age. Like, I wish I was making beats and doing stuff at, like, 16, 17, and doing that. But at the same time, I look back, and I'm like, you wouldn't have known the people you wouldn't have known if you didn't, you know, be a great networker but make shitty music, and now, you know, you're at a point where you're making good music and things like that. So I would have never have gotten it without the life experiences, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's totally important to have those. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about too, like just with Kudo and Lil Step, I almost feel like I listened to both projects, and I never would have expected that you would be producing them, weirdly enough, just because it's so kind of different from the music you do. So how is that for you to like to is it easy for you to just kind of switch on and off depending upon the different genre? Or talk to me a little bit about kind of craft. Did you kind of just make the beats and then they fit them, or were you trying to make the production and fit those two specific artists?
So every time that I like try to work with an artist, I try to make them sound different than anybody else on the radio, anybody else ever, period. And Kudo's new project that's going to come out, there's some wild production from me, I'll say, that, you know, to make him sound different. But when I come in the studio, I sort of just like make a beat, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'm making a beat. I don't catch a melody quick, I'm out. Like when I was making Reality and I was producing the beat and I had made the beat, had the melody immediately. That's when I know, okay, this is going to be a hit. When it comes right to me. If I make a great beat and something doesn't come to me there, I'll just put on auto-tune and mumble and go from there and see if I can make a song out of it. But sometimes, you know, I'll do that and then the song sucks, and then I'll just take my vocals off and be like, look, this is a hot beat, hop on it. But I'll give two examples. So there was one beat that I had on 24 Carats, which that beat was just nuts. I had never made anything like that before. I was like, I don't know what anyone is going to do on this. It was sort of like a West Coast inspired beat, but had like all these breaks and stuff into it. And sometimes I'll just be in the studio, just like locked in, and I don't even know what I'm doing. So like everybody could be like, what did you do here? And I'm like, I don't know. But when Kudo came in, he's like, I think I got something. Like Kudo just writes. Like he'll come in on this mic and just talk, and then magic happens. It's ridiculous. It probably comes to the fact that he's been doing this even longer than me. He's like 22, but he's been doing this longer than me. But he just goes in full material and just goes. And like the way, you know, he inspires me with the way he talks about his lyrics. It's just kind of crazy. But he just came in and did this song, and I heard it, and I was just like, yo, this is wild. And I was like, you need to film a snippet of this right now and come there. And it was a hit. And a lot of people really attached to Kudo's, EP. And a lot of people didn't know Kudo was a part of Lagoon, which Lagoon had a pretty successful run for how short of a time they were in. So that was pretty cool to like be a part of that. Now, on the aspect of Step, now Kudo's different because he has a very unique tone, right? Nobody sounds like him. And a lot of people say I sound like Melly or something like that, but I think it's just a deep voice. But we have very distinct tones. On the other hand, you have Step. So Step, you can kind of hear in the way he sings to be like, okay, he sounds similar to ABC. And the way he's very suave and has a very cool, smooth type of thing. But in my head, I'm just like, okay, what's a way that we can get him to stand out and have a different sound of like another echelon of that kind of music and just bring something totally unique. Now, the example I'll do for that is Road. Now, I didn't produce Road. Road was produced by a good friend of mine, Misty. He sent me the beat. So I was going to go on it, but I was like, Step, come in. And we were at the studio called Paper City Studios. I don't know if Phoenix has ever talked to you about that.
Yes, he has. Yep, he has.
So I was recording on this $1,900 mic that we had, and I was like, sing this, come in, and then he was like singing ad libs, and it sounded really good. And I was like, what if we put this effect? And I put this like tremolo effect on his voice that made his vocal sound like he was going in and out of the speakers. And that was like the Road and Do What I Want with Kudo are the two biggest songs on there. And my voice is the tremolo on the 5th song. So my voice is actually so I'm singing on the beat. So I'm sampled myself and things like that. So just adding like things that nobody around my area really, I feel does, I try to incorporate and just make a completely new sound. With every artist that I do, wherever they come in, that's what I really try to do. So that's how I sort of got into that. And that's what I'm going to try to continue doing. For me, it's like, if I know a beat's not good for me, I'm going to give it to somebody else. At this point, like, I know as much as I want to be the top artist, like at the end of the day, like my production is there. So it's one of those things where it's like, and I feel like my artistry is there now, but my production was a little more, but you can make more beats than you can make more songs. I was sitting at a desk job in Atlanta when I lived there making 8 beats a day. Obviously I can do that more than recording 8 times a day. You know what I mean? So because of the situation I was in, I just gained more knowledge of the production, but yeah. So that's how I sort of go about it.
That's awesome. And no, the Lil Step Relativity project, and again, it's not really even my cup of tea in terms of like that kind of music, but I even found songs that I really liked on that thing. Specifically, I really liked Nobody Like Me with Brizzy the Savage. That was a playlist ad for us.
That's my favorite
awesome.
mix too, because like if you hear it, it's like you hear Step sing and he's like, I need somebody like you, and then you hear almost like his ad-libs, Brizzy and his ad-libs are backwards. Mm-hmm. So they were here in this studio actually, and I kind of walk them through. When I have somebody here and they're recording, I don't like sitting there and just be like, yeah, do another take, and hear them struggling. I don't like that. So it's like, if you're going to come to my studio, I'm not going to charge you much, and you're going to come out with the best product possible. That's the goal every time, right? So I'm just like, okay, you need to sing here. And I've been classically trained in singing since I was 10. So it's like, I can help them hit notes that they think they're not hitting, or help, harmonies. Like when you sing a harmony, you're singing the same note. People don't realize that nice harmony on the juice of that sort of the low and the high octave sounds great, but no one may know. And I was telling Brizzy, I was like, you need to sing like this, Step, you need to do the same thing here. And then that's how the song sort of came together and was sort of different. So that's what I found with that. And I want to continue doing that, especially in 2021 with more artists that are coming to work with me too.
Absolutely. I think this is a good time to transition a little bit or a good segue, I should say, because I think that so of course you are a teacher and by day right now, and so again, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on like are there any similarities? Do you see any similarities between like sort of, I guess, the mentorship role in a sense you've taken on with some of the artists that you've worked with, like Step and Kudo? Do you kind of see any similarities between teaching and sort of the mentorship that it takes to work with artists, executive produce their projects and things of that nature?
I see a lot of things. The only thing that is really just isn't great, and I've only had a small sliver of in-person work, is the fact that most of this stuff is remote. And with these kids not in school, it's really tough.
It is hard.
And I work I help sort of the behavioral kids in school. That's sort of my job as the teacher. I have those classes. And these kids, they'll come from all walks of life, dealing with all sorts of things that I never would ever be able to sympathize with, because I never went through, while having to go on your phones and your computers and try to learn something for 6-7 hours a day. Like, that's draining. And I go at the mentorship I do in the studio the same way I do there. It's just the product that comes out is not necessarily what I hope for, and it's sad. And that's really what sucks. So I hope that the vaccines can keep rolling out and people can keep taking them. I'll be first in line to take it, because not only am I a teacher, I just want to be on tour in a year. Like, I think I'm going to be out of here. That's my envisionment. So that's what I hope that we can be able to do and get to shows and stuff like that. But I just really want the kids of tomorrow, the generation of tomorrow, to be back in school and learning, and just having that in-person connection is so important for these kids, especially the kids that I'm, working with on a daily basis.
Well, yeah, those kids, especially the ones that really need those extra services, they're the ones that, I mean, again, I think every kid right now, student athlete, they're all missing out on a lot of different things, and it's sad. You know what I mean? Like, picture missing out on your complete senior year of high school. You know what I mean? Like, look back to those moments and being remote through them. It's hard, and it's hard for teachers as well. I mean, it's hard to keep the engagement on a screen. I mean, it's just this is reality of the situation. But at the same, on the breath too, it's like, can we still try to make some kind of connection with them? And that's the goal, obviously. But yeah, you're right. Like, it is that much easier to do it in person. You seem like somebody that would be a lot more like just the energy in person. Maybe it's a little bit more motivational.
And the thing that I'm grateful for is I really got put in this position with no prior, like, my mother is a principal, but like, she's not the principal of the school that I am working at, but she helped me get the job. And I moved back from Atlanta and was sort of working in ABA. So I had like a few months working with that, and I liked it, but I didn't expect to like teaching, being the son of a teacher. It's like, I don't really want to do that, but I actually really do enjoy it. And I think I'm one of those people that comes into, I really wish I could be performative, and I really wish I could do energy, but the response I've been getting from parents has been really great for me, especially someone who's a first year. So I really can't thank my students and their parents enough for sympathizing with me. And also, a lot of these teachers are very, very stressed for a lot of other reasons. I have a more enlightened load than a lot of my colleagues, but they're just stressed because they're used to in person. I'm not. So I think I'm going to be more stressed if I keep teaching, when we're back, because I'm not really going to know how to deal with 20 kids at one time.
That is true. Yeah, no, you're right, because the transition this year to, essentially saying, like, trying to transition all of your materials, all the ways in which that you teach, like, at certain strategies, like, again, like any kind of group work, or like, I'm a big guy, I love Socratic seminars. That's like one of my big things since I teach English. I love doing those. And I think that it helps some of the kids that, aren't as strong of writers or aren't as confident as writers, but they speak very well. It kind of gives them an opportunity to, in class, have that. And again, that gets lost, and it's hard on a screen. And the other thing too, with the Zoom or, Google Meet, whatever the heck you're using, but, some kids don't necessarily want their teacher or, whoever into their like bedroom, you know what I mean? Or maybe the home situation isn't ideal for, their siblings and their parents to all be working from home, and that can be another like anxiety.
Yeah, the
ridden
turning
thing.
on the cameras battle has been probably like the hardest thing that I've had to deal with, and unfortunately, I've given up. And I think the peers have, administration has too. What can you do? It's like, how many battles can you fight? We're just trying to get these kids to pass. I
Exactly.
like, if you're passing and you have your cameras off, then like I really don't care at this point. I just want you to succeed.
Agreed. I agree. I think it's a tough situation because obviously you want to see them. Like it's hard, even for me. Like I same thing. Like if I have a screen full of just little, thumbnails,
Dots,
it's like
yeah.
it kind of sucks. But at the same time, like you referenced this a little earlier, it's like we don't really know what our students go through on a daily basis, right? And depending upon where you teach, like I used to teach in the city in Boston, so right outside the city, so I had that perspective of like, like just different things that they go through on a daily basis, and some of these kids going right to work right after school, they're working till late, they're working late hours just to, some of these kids going home not having heat during the winter, like just crazy coming back. Even the school I would teach at years ago, the kids were coming back for dinner. Like that's because they couldn't get a hot meal at home. And it's just, and it's sad. And like, I mean, I work in a suburb now. It's a little bit, I think overall it's a little bit different, but there's still some of those issues. We're still having a lot of mental health problems. And again, you talked about it a little bit earlier too. It's like, this situation is not helping that whatsoever.
No.
Like even anybody that already had those issues that were just struggling, just getting by with those, isolate yourself, and then, lose motivation for your schoolwork, and then the grades tank, and then there's no, positive reinforcement there. It's a downward spiral, man.
And I try to I'm like, look, you can talk to me about, like, as you said, and as you've heard of my music, at this point, like, I want anybody to talk to me about anything at the end of the day. Like, I can deal with it. Like, I've been through hell and high water. So I want these kids to talk to me. Like, look, like, what's going on? Like, I'm not going to say anything. This is confidential, whatever. But then they don't want to be in a computer for another 15 minutes lamenting about whatever problems that they're having to their, young teacher. They really don't want to do that. So it's a battle. I just praying, September 2021, all the kids back.
I know, same, because I think this year it just what it's come to at this point. It's hard, man. It's hard on the teachers. It's hard on the kids. Granted, it's even hard on the administration, and again, making these decisions are probably not easy. And again, it's just not an ideal situation.
Especially
but again,
with MCAS and APs, just like
forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me coaching right now, it's hard, man. Like we're playing some semblance of a basketball season, but it's not the same, man. There's no fans in the stands. The kids got to wear the masks. I mean, I understand why, obviously. I mean, you had COVID, so I'm sure you are pretty aware of the, how serious it could be potentially, right? And I understand all of that. But at the same time, I think I've been saying this for a little bit now, I think, and I'm not the only one, but I think we are on the verge of a mental health crisis in this country, really, with the aftermath of this.
Yeah.
And it's something, and you've talked about it on this episode and in your music, and I've talked about it on this show many times. I've had my fair share of that. I would agree with you in the sense that I didn't really quite understand it up until probably, I think I was going through it when I was in my teens, and then even when I was a little bit younger than that, just based upon what I was going through in my life. And I don't think I really understood what it was, though, until I was like in my early 20s. And my 20s have just kind of been really, honestly, how do I navigate this and how do I cope with it? I guess, I mean, that's something where everybody's at. But maybe that's a question for you, too. Like, someone that obviously deals with mental health. I mean, that's a lot of people right now. What are some ways that you cope with mental health, and what helps you to sort of, kind of get out of some of those ruts we could all potentially be in?
For me, it's so much harder, like, because I just come to the studio and just sing. Like, that's my therapy, In the reality music video, you can see me, like, at the therapist's office. So that's sort of my point of it. The one thing that I can say, if anybody is watching this, for anybody who's dealing with mental health, I know it's so cliche. And I know it sucks, but like it does get better. I I moved to Atlanta because I was having the worst time of my life when I graduated college, right? I was in a shitty job. I did insurance and I hated it because insurance is a scam. Okay. Personal insurance is a scam. And I got out of a relationship that my only relationship I had ever been in. It affected me greatly. And I didn't really know it affected me greatly until after, like long after. And I went, saw multiple friends, go through stuff. You can hear all about it in the song Reality. And you can hear about that stuff. And I was working a year ago. Today's in this sometime in February. A year ago, I stopped working my 34th day in a row after working 34 days in a row with no break, and I was miserable, and I was living like essentially in garbage. It was like I would go and wake up and just eat on whatever table and go to sleep, and I was living in a house. Point being, I didn't know that things were going to get better. And then I came home, and we're in a pandemic, and my life got immensely better. And I got immensely better at music, and I lost weight, and I did all these things to do, but it does eventually get better. But the one thing that you can't do is make a decision that's going to affect something for the rest of your life, like I did at a young age, saying stuff that you don't mean, doing things you don't mean, partaking in things you shouldn't partake in. It causes people around you. People love you, and if anybody doesn't love you, I do. So and I don't even need to know you. So the point of it is you really have to understand that it's a whole battle of roller coasters. It can't be easy. I went on a 4-year stint of bullshit, and I made my album Anomaly. And the minute I dropped Anomaly, I was the happiest I've been, and I've been on an absolute tear, And maybe 2 years from now, I'll have a sinking period. But right now I'm killing it. And I wouldn't know if when I was 12, I wouldn't know I'd be killing it at 24. When I was a year ago in Atlanta, I didn't know I'd be back home killing it. I thought I was going to be down there killing it, and it just didn't work. But I pushed through, and I worked my ass off, and you just have to work your ass off at whatever you're trying to do. You can work out, do all these different hobbies, find a passion, or if you don't have a passion, I don't know, I would write things down, and don't write anything mean down, but just write about what you're feeling and, throw it away and just think of it as a momentous. I can go on, but I don't really have the answer because I just sing into this and make something on there. And the minute the song's done, my problems go away for a time being until I got to have a new problem to make a song out of. So it's hard for me to say that, but I just want people to know, my fans, your fans, and the viewers all around, that y'all matter. You're here for a reason, and you're not supposed to take, matters into your own hands. That's for the heavens or whatever you believe in to decide.
I think that's incredibly, incredibly well said. Thank you so much for that. And I think, again, it's just something that we all need to hear right now. And that, people do care about you. If you don't think someone does, someone out there definitely does. And, get the help that you think you need if you think you need it. Again, just to share a little bit too, I was in a similar position when I was in college. I was very overweight. I stopped playing basketball. Basketball is my life as growing up as a kid, high school, college, even early college years. Stopped playing in college, and just put on pounds. And I was just I was drinking all the time. I was eating like crap. I just wasn't happy. My sleep schedule was off, and I was just miserable. I was really, really just going through it. And having these panic attacks weekly, it was horrible. And until I finally told myself that I needed to right the ship, I got the help I needed. I started seeing a therapist. And I think that, things like that, I think they're so taboo now. I don't think they're as taboo as they were maybe 5-10 years ago, but, I think it's starting to become a little more mainstream and socially acceptable, where it's I see a therapist, so friggin' what? I think there's immense value in that, just because there's somebody out there that doesn't have a bias to your life, and that's trying to give you just unbiased perspective. And that whole hour is about you. Yeah, yeah. And I think for you, in a sense, you have your music where you can kind of channel all that into it, and that microphone is unbiased, right? It's going to take whatever you say in, no matter what. So
yeah, And I've been, there's been times. I mean, I had a traumatic event happen to me when I was 20 that triggered the trauma from my childhood. I'll just put it that way. As I almost didn't survive, put it that way. I was in a bad position. I didn't do anything to myself, but I won't get into it too much. But I saw a therapist again, one time. Like, even if it's one time, I was on my phone with my boy, and like, so many of his friends died. I live in the suburbs. I have a really privileged life. Like, my parents are happily married. They've been together for 30 years. I have a great sister. I have a great friends. I have a roof over my head at 24. I can live in my my parents made me this basement, got new carpets, the TV, everything for me to run a business and not have to pay rent, but there's people in situations that don't have that have to go out into the streets and sell whatever they got to sell to make the money that they got to make. And that can get you in bad positions. I was telling my boy, a few of his friends passed away from sort of violence and things like that and other related things. And he was just like, I don't know what to do. I can't deal with this. And I was like, you just need to go to a therapist, man, like once. Like, I can sit here and have a conversation as if I'm a therapist to you, but like, that's not going to have a much of effect, as someone with a PhD that can really pick your brain that's unbiased, because I know you. So there's some bias. These people don't know you, and they're paid not to know you. They're paid to know the man that walks in the door, the person that walks in the door, and the person that walks out. Hopefully they can change their lives for the better or for the time being, and give them the coping mechanisms to survive in life.
Well, that's the big thing, right? The coping mechanisms. I mean, like, that's, again, for like, eating the right way, just having some type of a proper workout regimen, or whether it's just something simple like stretching every day. Like, my lifestyle is kind of crazy right now, and I don't have a ton of time to work out lately, like just with basketball, school, this podcast. But one thing I do make a lot of time for every day is to stretch and just meditate, really. And that's been, and then honestly too, weirdly enough, what's been helping me the last, I'd say, couple of weeks, roughly, is I've been trying to get better about reading every night, even if it's just a chapter of a book, like, and whatever it is, whether it's, a book on, like, right now I'm reading Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, and that's really been interesting for me to read. But like,
I love
whether
Trevor.
it's a novel. Oh, he's great. I love him. And I love Hassan Minhaj too. His
yep.
He's fantastic. The Patriot Act, all that. Those guys are great. But just in things like that, like, just anything that can kind of help spur, your creative mind, or just kind of get deeper into, your thoughts, and just to kind of put yourself a little bit at ease. Like, I mean, weirdly enough, like, meditating's hard. It's something that takes a lot of practice. Like, I've had to practice it. I'm definitely not a master at it by any stretch, but it's very helpful, I think, when I'm able to get into that, that headspace and do it. So again, whatever that is for you, right? And I mean, I'm not, obviously we're not, we don't have PhDs in this either. It's not like we have all the answers, of course. And I didn't mean to ask you the question as if to say that, you had all the answers, or I did.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. Feel free to get my advice, but also feel free to get professional help, because I'm not a professional.
Absolutely. No, me neither. But yeah, I guess the whole point of this is just, seek the help if you need it, but also at the same time, like, find the things that give you fulfillment, things that put you at ease, surround yourself with the people that, just really are going to uplift you rather than bring you down. And I just want to commend you, because it seems as though you've found that circle, you've found those people in your life that have kind of put you on this path to stability, which is now leading to the success that it is. Mm-hmm. And really, I think, out of all this, I think, you've funneled it into your music, and that's really the most important thing. So guys, make sure you go stream Reality. I think it'll give everybody a really great perspective. Regardless of whether you've been through, we're going to link that obviously in the description with the music video as well. We got Anomaly also linked in the description too. You heard a snippet from the music video. You heard a snippet earlier from Reality. So make sure you go run those streams up for sure for DK. Show this man some love. And obviously check out Lil Step's Relativity project as well as Kudo's latest album as well. Make sure you guys go check all those out. Stream them. They're out on all streaming platforms. DK, you're not quite done yet. This has been a phenomenal episode. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been great.
I love it.
Of course, we have our final question.
Okay.
It's the dream song scenario, and I will break it down for you.
Okay.
You get a song. You can make this song with anybody, dead or alive, any artist. All right. You get a verse. You get 2 guest verses. You get somebody to do the hook. And you also get a producer who is producing. Now, you can get a couple of different producers if you want. Like if you want a specific melody from one producer, maybe some drums from another, for example. But you can kind of get creative with there. But again, your dream song. Take as much time as you need. Who is going to be on DK's dream song scenario?
I think the dream song scenario would probably be sort of Frank Ocean on the hook. Another person that I think, as far as like a guest verse, I think Frank is like I think Frank and The Weeknd would definitely be 2 people that I'd want to do that, and I would definitely do some sort of like high melt. Like I would probably it would probably be something where I'd do where my voice, where I switch from low to falsetto. I'd probably do a lot of that. Honestly, I would probably have Rick Rubin as a producer on
That's
that.
Fantastic.
Because he acts sort of like an exec producer in a lot of ways, I feel like.
Absolutely.
And I would love to sort of like be on the beat as well, because that's just who I am. But yeah, I think that would be cool to just be in a place where I could just have a song where I could just belt, with those guys. And having Rick Rubin and me and them sort of coming on the production and the engineering and sort of incorporate that all together. I think that would probably be like the number 1 hit, in my opinion.
That sounds to me just like a complete showcase of vocal range and things like that. Like The Weeknd had my number 1 album from last year with my graduation 2020, just to spoil that if no one's checked those episodes out. But that's how much I loved After Hours, and just such a big fan of The Weeknd. And Phoenix, the episode the Phoenix and I just dropped as well. We're really looking forward to some Frank Ocean. So hey, maybe make that happen, bro. DK featuring Frank Ocean, The Weeknd, executive produced by Rick Rubin.
I hope.
I think just The Weeknd and just Frank Ocean on his track alone, I don't see how that doesn't go number 1. And then of course add in Rick Rubin and yourself. Hell of a track, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Very good.
Awesome.
DK, everyone, thank you so much for being here. DK, this was a really fantastic episode. Thanks so much for coming through. You are officially a Turntable Teachers alumni. And let the people know where they can find you. Socials, all that stuff. Plug away.
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram @_D with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Ks at the end on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at facebook.com/DKmusic413, on TikTok @DKmusic413. You can also find me at soundcloud.com/DKmusic413. And you can find me on YouTube under DK Music. I would search DK Music Anomaly or DK Music Reality. If you're trying to find the string of YouTube videos, that's probably the best for you. And that is all my socials. And for all inquiries, you can hit up at IC Will Management and IC Williamson on Instagram and Twitter for all inquiries.
Love it, man. And again, we'll link everything else too in the description for sure. So make sure you guys go run up Anomaly, Reality, and everything that DK is working on. And we will be definitely plugging away whatever else you got coming in the works for 21 and beyond, DK. So thank you so much for being here, man. This was a great episode. And of course, if you're a fan of DK, just coming on to us for the first time, give us a follow at Turntable Teachers on Instagram. Check out our website, www.turntableteachers.com. Got a lot of new, interesting, and very cool blogs that are going to be coming up there in the very near future, and that just came out as well. Be on the lookout for potentially a merch giveaway in the very, very near future. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our podcast streaming services or our YouTube, or both. Both would be great too. But wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you if you watch the podcast on YouTube, be sure to smash that subscribe button. DK, once again, thank you so much for an incredible episode, and we look forward to checking in with you again very soon.
Awesome.
And without further ado, I am Mike. This is DK with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn to the teachers. Turn to the teachers.